Hello, survivors! Welcome back. Dr. Alejandro here. My camera is off for good reason because I'm going to be showing some data about the game in a little bit and it can get in the way. But here we are in Alpha 20, and I really wanted to show off the updated 7 Days to Die datasheet. What I do when new versions of the game come out is I crunch the numbers through the code to let you know what the values of different things in the game are, the different weapons, different armors, and Alpha 20 had a lot of balancing changes inside of the game. Now, I can talk about a few of them. I'm going to swap us over to a view of the spreadsheets. This 7 Days to Die data sheet will be available in the link below the video, so you'll be able to open it up and read it, look at all the data as much as you want, which I think is awesome. I love being able to see some of these things. So let's switch over to the data sheet and let's go over some of these changes. I'll come back to the game to kind of showcase a few of them for you, all of you. All right, here we are at my 7 Days to Die data sheet. Now, I'd originally done things in Alpha 19. I did a lot of things, including Darkness Falls stuff too. But now all of that's old. It's been renamed as old. But what we do have is all the information for Alpha 20 here. Of note, armor didn't change. These armor values are the same from Alpha 19 to Alpha 20. So none of that has changed. Armor's still going to function the exact same way as before. But you can see the different ranges, because one of the things in this game, besides primitive items, so the padded armor and the scrap armor, as well as the primitive weapons as well, they use static values. So a tier 1 padded chest armor will always have 5.1 armor no matter what. That's what it's going to be at. All the other pieces of armor, as well as most guns in the game, do have ranges of values where they can be. Where we have the middle, the kind of average, the low end, and the high end for everything. And so if you get a piece of armor and you want to use a data sheet, you can look it up. Say you had tier 5 military armor with 11 armor rating. You can look over here. That's actually on the high end. Average is 10.1. 11 is on the high end. So it lets you know, like, oh, if you're crafting yourself military armor and you craft a tier 5 military chest piece that has 9 armor on it, you know that is really bad. And if you craft it again, the chances are you're going to get a much higher armor value. Melee weapons also didn't change in their static entity damage. Some other things may have changed, such as the spears getting increased armor penetration compared to what they had before. So some of the substats may change, but the actual damage numbers on the melee weapons hasn't changed. You can use this to look up all those values again. Bone knives, wooden clubs, pipe batons, stone spears, stone sledges, and leather knuckles are primitive. So they only have a single damage value. They won't have any ranges to them. But the interesting things are where we get to the ranged weapons. This is really where so much changed in the game. The ranged weapons. Well, one, we have the addition of new pipe weapons. Again, the pipe weapons in general don't have random values for their damage numbers. Pipe pistol, the pipe shotgun, and the pipe rifle are all static like the other primitive weapons. For some reason, and I'm guessing this is going to get changed later on, the pipe machine gun does have those random values attached to it. So the pipe machine gun is one that can have random damage values, unlike all the other pipe weapons. Will they change that? I don't know. They could. It wouldn't surprise me if they actually fixed the pipe machine gun to be like all the other pipe weapons. But we'll find out when we get there. The things I want to talk about on here, though, is actually how the buffs and nerfs occurred. So, one thing of note we could talk about is the pistol, as well as the Magnum and the Desert Vulture, are unchanged. Those three are completely unchanged. The SMG did get a small damage buff. So in Alpha 19, the SMG was bullet damage. I guess I should say this for people who might not know. The way the guns do their damage in the game is you have the base damage of the bullet. So for 9mm, the base damage of the bullet is 32. And then they can have some other base addition or subtraction to that to figure out the base damage of the weapon. So previously, in Alpha 19, the pistol and the SMG were both base bullet damage, 0 bonus. Now the SMG is 32 base plus 3. So SMG did get a 3 damage boost. Here's where we get into the more interesting stuff. Shotguns were nerfed. In Alpha 20, and Alpha 19, I should say, and before, shotguns had a base damage of 11.2 damage per pellet. They are now strictly at 10.1. Also, something that people might not have realized is even in Alpha 19, the damage ranges for double barrels, pump shotguns, and auto shotguns were the same. In Alpha 19 and Alpha 20, there is no bonus. What you're getting from going from a double barrel to the pump to the auto shotgun is more rounds in the magazine and a higher fire rate. You were never getting any additional damage from going up the shotgun tree. You were just getting more bullets you can put out and a higher fire rate from the auto shotgun. So yeah, there's a 1.1 damage nerf per pellet on shotguns. Another one of our changes that we do have is 7.62 ammo. 7.62 ammo used to be 50 damage. Now it's 47. And that actually affects things a little bit because we have the hunting rifle. So previously, the hunting rifle was 50 base damage plus, I believe it was 9. Let's just double check that. It was 50. Oh, 50 plus 12. 50 plus 12. So it was base 62 with the hunting rifle before. Now it's 47 plus 8. So the hunting rifle got a pretty decent nerf in damage, but it's made up for it a little bit with some of the later weapons. The lever action rifle has the exact same damage values as the old marksman rifle. The marksman rifle was 50 and 9. This is 47 and 12. Exact same. Similar with the sniper rifle. The sniper rifle is also unchanged. It was 50 and 14. Now it's 47 and 17. So the early hunting rifle got a few damage nerfed to it. I think 4 damage total from 62 to 55. Oh, more than that, actually. 6 damage total. So it was a little bit more of a nerf. So, yeah, the rifles have changed. The later guns are still, like, similar to what they were, but the earlier guns did get a little bit of a nerf there. Looking at the machine guns, the AK also got a 4 damage nerf. The AK and the TAC both have nerfs on them. AK got a little bit more damage. I think it's about 4 damage. The tactical assault rifle got, I think, only like 1 or 2. I think it's only 1 damage change. That's 40 damage base right there. Let's just double check what it used to be. It was 50 minus 12. I think that's the right one. So, here it is. So 50 minus 9 is 41. So the tactical assault rifle got a -1 damage nerf. And if we look at the AK, it looks like it got a 2 damage nerf. So those weren't nerfed too hard. The M60 is the exact same as it was in Alpha 19. M60 was balanced around that, so that actually works out pretty well there. The biggest change, and it's a huge welcome change, and one of the reasons I want to do this was bows. In Alpha 19, the stone arrow used to do 25 damage. It now does 35 damage base. Stone crossbow bolts used to do 32, and now they do 50. Bows have such a huge buff to them that it is really, really impressive. And bows actually can feel really good to use now. The primitive bow got a 10 damage buff. Went from 25 -6 to 35 -6. The wooden bow got a 14 damage buff. It used to be 25 -4. Now it's 35 -0. So it got a 14 damage buff. And the compound bow got a 19.15 damage buff. Because it was 35, it was 25 plus 0 for the compound bow. Now it's 35 plus 9.15. So we got a 10-point boost on the primitive, 14 on the wooden, 19 on the compound bow. Crossbows are even higher. Iron crossbow got a 24 damage buff. This was 32 and minus 6 before. Now it's 50 plus 0. 24 extra damage overall in iron crossbows. The compound crossbow used to be 32 plus 0. Now it's 50 and 13.5. The compound crossbows got a 31.5 damage buff. Compound crossbows are now actually one of the stronger weapons in the game. If you're comparing damage from the compound crossbow to the sniper rifle, their damage is actually very, very similar. So the compound crossbows will now act very similarly to the strength of the sniper rifles, which is super awesome to see. Now you can feel better using bows throughout the game, and I absolutely love it. The last segment here that's new so far is the tool block damage. So just like I did entity damage before, here are all different tools and all their block damages. I added some damage per stamina calculations. These aren't perfect. These are not perfect, but they can work. Okay. These aren't perfect, but they can work. One thing I've seen from this is the pickaxes and shovels can actually be better than the stone versions. The iron ones. Because if we're looking at the stone axe, which is this top value right here, compared to the pickaxe, yeah, it seems to have a lot more damage per stamina. But this damage per stamina is only against wood. The stone axe does negative 33% damage against stone and negative 50% damage against metal. So if you're actually breaking up something that's metal, iron pickaxes will pretty much always be better than the stone axe. With the iron fire axe, however, and we're going to switch back into the game to discuss this. I'll talk about the iron fire axe in a second. With the shovels, if we look at it across the board, unless you get a don't want to do that. Unless you get a really, really bad iron shovel, it's pretty much always going to be better than the stone shovel in terms of damage per stamina used. So that's something really cool to look at. And also with the harvesting tools, the wrench, the ratchet, and impact driver, it's basically just straight upgrades the entire way across. I know there's always a big thing of people wasn't sure about using iron pickaxes and iron fire axes compared to the stone axe because of just the damage per stamina, but that is picked up a little bit. Let's jump back into the game view for a second, and I'm going to show you what I mean with the iron fire axes and why, they're not as bad as they could be anymore. Alright, so back in the game, back into my testing world, and the reason I'm saying that I was like iffy on the iron fire axes is their stamina cost. So the iron fire axe has a range of stamina cost between 18.9 and 20.8. So if you get one of these iron fire axes that has a really high stamina cost, it's not going to be great compared to the stone axe, just because that stamina cost is prohibitive towards its damage per stamina ratio. But if you get one that's on the low end, where it actually has the low end of the stamina cost, then it can actually be pretty useful damage per stamina wise. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about that one just a little bit, because if you get an iron fire axe that's close to 19 stamina, like this is close to the average. Average is kind of that iffy point, but if you're getting close to 19 stamina, then in general, the iron fire axe will be a pretty good deal. It won't be too terrible for you. The last thing I want to talk about that's new with Alpha 20 is dealing with these zombies. So if we look at some of these zombies, let's just go ahead and grab a zombie Arlene, place her right down there. So in normal game, Arlene has, I believe it's 125 HP, but things are different now. They finally implemented the random HP for zombies. Now, zombies have their kind of average HP, which is what we're used to in the past. But when you encounter zombies in a game, they can have anywhere between 80% to 115% of their HP. So, with that in mind, these normal zombies, the regular zombies, were all like 125 or 150 hit points. These 125 base HP zombies, like Arlene and many others, now can have an HP range between 100 and I believe it's 144 is the top end for them. So it's one of those things where you may be able to get a headshot on one time, and it might not kill one another time, and that's because it's a random HP. That can actually really affect things, and unless you can see it, you won't necessarily know. But yeah, they added in all that stuff. So before each zombie had their HP and that was it. Now it's going to change. Every spawn of a zombie will change what is going on HP wise. But this is a lot of information I put out there for Alpha 20. I hope people like it. I hope people enjoy the data sheet that I made, that you find it useful, and you really like being able to see your numbers, see how good or bad your equipment is, so you can figure out what you need. And hey, I hope to see you all next time, because this is just the start of our Alpha 20 journey. I love delving into the game. I love doing different types of testing whenever new things come out. So I'm going to be running a lot of different types of special tests to see how things are fully functioning in the game. And we'll be putting some more out there. But I hope to see you all in the next video.